She said, "Whatever, I don't need you. I have plenty of options," after I caught her. The buzzing phone on the kitchen counter would change my life forever. But I'm getting ahead of myself. My name is Mark Anderson. Until 4 months ago, I thought I was living the American dream in Chicago. Great tech job, nice apartment in Lincoln Park, and what I believe was a loving relationship with a beautiful, vibrant woman named Lauren Williams. Now I'm sitting alone in my apartment with half-empty closets and the lingering scent of her perfume, wondering how I missed so many warning signs. It all started at a house party last year. Dave, my college buddy and now coworker, had just moved into a new place and invited half the tech company and their friends to christen it. I wasn't planning to stay long. Big social gatherings have never been my thing. But then Lauren walked in. I still remember exactly what she was wearing. A deep blue dress that matched her eyes, blonde hair cascading over her shoulders, and a smile that lit up the room. She carried herself with the kind of confidence I'd always admired but never mastered. When our eyes met across the crowded living room, something electric passed between us. "You must be Mark," she said, appearing beside me as I awkwardly nursed a beer in the corner. "Dave told me about the coding genius who keeps saving their projects." I nearly choked on my drink. "Dave has a serious exaggeration problem. I just fix bugs." Lauren laughed, the sound musical and genuine. "Don't sell yourself short. Building things that work in this broken world is practically a superpower." She clinked her glass against mine. "So what's your origin story, superhero?" That night we talked for hours. Lauren worked in marketing for a tech startup, specializing in brand development. She was passionate, ambitious, and had this way of making you feel like the most interesting person in the world when she focused her attention on you. By the time the party wound down, I told her things I rarely shared with anyone, about my parents' divorce when I was 12, my dreams of eventually starting my own company, even my embarrassing college band phase. "You'll have to play for me sometime," she teased, entering her number into my phone. I have a weakness for musically inclined tech guys. I texted her the next morning, half expecting to never hear back. Beautiful, charismatic women like Lauren didn't usually go for guys like me, but she responded immediately, suggesting coffee that weekend. One coffee date turned into dinner. Dinner turned into a whole weekend together, and before I knew it, we were officially a couple. The first 6 months were intoxicating. Lauren was spontaneous in ways I'd never been. She'd surprise me with weekend getaways, drag me to art exhibitions I wouldn't have considered, and introduce me to a whole new social scene. My previously predictable life became a whirlwind of new experiences. Even my coworkers noticed the change. "Whatever she's doing, it's working for you," Dave commented one day at lunch. "You're actually smiling at work. It's freaking people out." Not everything was perfect. Lauren's spontaneity sometimes translated to impulsiveness, especially with money. She'd book expensive restaurants without checking if I had other plans, or suggest luxury vacations well beyond what I considered reasonable. When I'd bring up budgeting, she'd pout. "Life is short, Mark. We work hard. We deserve to enjoy the rewards." It was hard to argue with her when she looked at me with those blue eyes. Besides, wasn't that what dating was about? Compromise? Expanding your horizons? I told myself she was helping me loosen up, teaching me to enjoy life instead of always saving for tomorrow. The real trouble began 8 months into our relationship. I was working late on a critical project when Lauren called, her voice thick with tears. "They let me go," she sobbed. "Budget cuts. Said they're downsizing the whole marketing department." I left work immediately and found her in her apartment, surrounded by tissues, a half-empty wine bottle on the coffee table. "I gave everything to that company," she said, collapsing into my arms. "Nights, weekends, holidays. And they just threw me away like I was nothing." I held her close, murmuring reassurances, telling her any company would be lucky to have her. She'd find something better. Everything would be okay. "That's not even the worst part," she continued, pulling back to look at me. "My lease is up next month. I can't afford to renew without a bois, and in this market..." Fresh tears spilled down her cheeks. The words left my mouth before I'd even processed them. "Move in with me." Lauren's eyes widened. "What?" "Move in with me," I repeated, more confident now. It makes sense. You can stay with me while you job hunt, save on rent, and we've been talking about taking the next step anyway, right? Are you sure? She asked, vulnerability radiating from her. I don't want to be a burden. You could never be a burden, I assured her, wiping a tear from her cheek. We're a team now. The relief and gratitude on her face made me feel like a hero. Here was this incredible woman who could have anyone, and she was looking at me like I just saved her life. It was intoxicating. That weekend, we moved her essentials into my one-bedroom apartment. Her colorful throw pillows brightened my neutral couch. Her scented candles gave the place a warm, inviting smell. Her clothes filled the empty half of my closet I'd cleared for her. It was a tight fit, but we made it work. I loved coming home to find her there, loved falling asleep with her in my arms, loved the domestic rhythm we quickly established. I've already updated my resume, she told me that first night, snuggled against me in bed. I have some great contacts from my last job. I'll start sending applications tomorrow. Take your time, I said, kissing the top of her head. Find something you really want. I can handle things for now. And that's exactly what I did. I paid the rent, the utilities, the groceries. I even covered her car payment when she mentioned being short that month. I didn't mind. I had the means and I wanted to help. Besides, it was temporary. Lauren was talented and well-connected. She'd find something soon. The first warning sign appeared about 3 weeks after she moved in. I came home early from work, excited to surprise her with takeout from her favorite Thai place, only to find the apartment empty. Her laptop was open on the coffee table, and I couldn't help but notice the screen. Not job listings or a resume, but a shopping cart full of expensive clothing items. The browser tab showed social media, not LinkedIn or Indeed. When she came home an hour later with shopping bags from stores I recognized from the open tabs, I felt a flicker of unease. How's the job search going? I asked casually over dinner. Exhausting, she sighed dramatically. I spent all day sending out applications. Nothing promising yet, but I have a networking lunch tomorrow with a former colleague who might have some leads. I nodded, choosing not to mention what I'd seen. Maybe she just needed a short break from job hunting. Everyone deserved downtime, right? But days turned into weeks and weeks into months. The networking lunches and coffee meetings rarely seemed to produce actual interviews. When I gently inquired, Lauren would become defensive. Do you have any idea how soul-crushing it is to put yourself out there every day just to be rejected? She snapped when I asked if she'd followed up with a particular company. The market is brutal right now, especially in marketing. I'm trying, Mark. I backed off, not wanting to add to her stress. Instead, I tried to be supportive in other ways. Cooking dinner most nights, giving her space when she seemed down, suggesting we watch her favorite shows instead of mine. Meanwhile, my credit card statements grew longer with charges I didn't recognize. Clothing stores, beauty salons, restaurants where I'd never eaten. When I finally worked up the courage to bring it up, Lauren's eyes immediately welled with tears. I feel so worthless without a job, she said, voice cracking. These little things make me feel normal again. I thought you understood how hard this is for me. Guilt washed over me. Of course, a few shopping purchases weren't the end of the world. If they helped her mental health during this difficult period, wasn't that worth it? I'm sorry, I said, wrapping my arms around her. I shouldn't have brought it up. Just maybe give me a heads up before making bigger purchases, okay? She nodded against my chest, crisis averted, but a nagging feeling had taken root in my stomach, a feeling I couldn't quite shake. Lauren developed a new routine. She'd sleep in until mid-morning, then spend hours on her phone scrolling through social media. Afternoons were for networking coffees with former colleagues or friends who might have job leads. Evenings, especially weekends, she'd go out with a rotating cast of friends I rarely met. It's just the girls, she'd say, applying lipstick in our bathroom mirror. We're going to blow off some steam at happy hour. Happy hour often stretched into the early morning hours. I'd wake up at 2 a.m. to find her side of the bed empty, only to receive a text. Staying at Amber's. Too late to drive. See you tomorrow. I tried not to let jealousy or suspicion creep in. Lauren was going through a tough time. She needed her friends, she needed to have fun, and forget her worries sometimes. What kind of boyfriend would begrudge her that? But the job search seemed to have stalled completely. 3 months after moving in, Lauren barely mentioned interviews anymore. When I gently inquired, she'd give vague responses. The industry is really competitive right now. Or, I'm exploring some opportunities that might take time to develop. One night after Lauren had gone out with her friends, I sat alone in our apartment, staring at the mounting bills on my desk. My savings account, once healthy, was dwindling. The credit card balance I'd always paid in full each month was now carrying over. I was working overtime to keep up with expenses, coming home exhausted to an empty apartment more often than not. For the first time, I allowed myself to ask the question that had been lurking in the back of my mind. Was Lauren really looking for a job at all? Or was she content to let me support her indefinitely? The thought made me sick with guilt. I loved her. I wanted to believe the best of her, but the evidence was getting harder to ignore. The incident that changed everything happened 4 months after Lauren moved in. It was a Tuesday evening, and I'd come home early from work. We'd had a system deployment go smoothly for once, and my boss had told the team to take off. I walked into the apartment to find it empty, though Lauren's purse was on the counter. Then I heard the shower running. I called out to let her know I was home, but the rushing water drowned out my voice. I was grabbing a beer from the fridge when I heard it, the distinctive buzz of a phone receiving multiple messages in quick succession. Lauren's phone was on the kitchen counter, screen lighting up repeatedly. I wasn't the type to snoop. I'd never checked Lauren's phone before, never felt the need to. But something about the rapid-fire nature of these messages set off alarm bells. And the phone was right there in plain sight, impossible to ignore as it vibrated with notification after notification. I glanced toward the bathroom door. The shower was still running. Almost without conscious thought, I moved toward the counter. The notifications were all preview snippets on the lock screen. Ryan Williams, can't wait to see you tonight. Been thinking about you all. Travis, last night was unforgettable. The way you, Jay, you're not responding. Miss you. When can we? I stood frozen, staring at the messages until the screen went dark. My heart hammered in my chest. My palms were sweaty. There had to be an explanation, right? Ryan could be a colleague. Travis and Jay could be, what, old friends? But I knew. Deep down, I knew. The shower stopped. I heard the curtain being pulled back. Moving quickly, I returned to the fridge, grabbed my beer, and tried to compose myself. I needed to appear normal while I figured out what to do. Lauren emerged from the bathroom wrapped in a towel, her hair wet and slicked back. She startled when she saw me. Mark, you're home early. She smiled, but there was something guarded in her eyes. Everything okay at work? Yeah, deployment went well. They let us go early. I took a swig of beer, watching her over the bottle. Any plans tonight? Just meeting some friends for drinks, networking opportunity. She moved toward the bedroom but paused to grab her phone from the counter. I noticed how quickly she checked it, her thumb scrolling through the notifications. Anyone I know? I asked, keeping my tone casual. Just some industry people, probably boring shop talk. She disappeared into the bedroom, closing the door behind her. I sat at the kitchen counter, my mind racing. What should I do? Confront her with what I'd seen? Follow her? Pretend I hadn't seen anything? None of those options felt right. 30 minutes later, Lauren emerged dressed in a tight black dress I'd never seen before. Her makeup perfect, hair styled in loose waves. That's quite an outfit for networking, I commented, unable to keep the edge from my voice. She glanced at me, an annoyed expression crossing her face. What's that supposed to mean? Nothing. You just look like you're going to a club, not a professional meetup. Well, it starts as networking and usually turns social. She grabbed her purse. Don't wait up. Might crash at Amber's again if it gets late. Something snapped inside me. All the doubts, all the suspicions, all the little inconsistencies of the past months crystallized into a certainty I couldn't ignore. Who's Ryan? I asked quietly. Lauren froze, her hand on the doorknob. What? Ryan and Travis and Jay. Who are they? She turned slowly, her expression morphing from shock to anger. You went through my phone? Are you serious right now? I didn't go through your phone. The messages were popping up on your lock screen while you were in the shower. So you were spying on my notifications? That's a violation of my privacy, Mark. Her voice rose, taking the offensive position immediately. Don't turn this around on me, I said, standing up. Those weren't messages from girlfriends or colleagues. Can't wait to see you tonight. Last night was unforgettable. What am I supposed to think? Lauren rolled her eyes dramatically. They're just guys I know. Friends. You're being ridiculously jealous right now. Friends don't talk to each other like that, Lauren, not unless they're more than friends. Oh my God, you are so insecure, she threw her hands up. Yes, there are guys who are interested in me. So what? I'm allowed to have male friends. Are you sleeping with them? The question came out before I could stop it, direct and unavoidable. A cold smile spread across Lauren's face, and in that moment, I saw a side of her I'd never witnessed before. It was calculating, almost cruel. What if I am? You've been so wrapped up in your boring joy, barely paying attention to me for months. A girl has needs, Mark. The admission hit me like a physical blow. I'd suspected, but hearing her practically confirm it made me feel sick. I've been supporting you, I said, my voice low and controlled despite the rage and hurt bubbling inside me. Paying for everything while you supposedly look for work. Was that even real? The job search? Or was that just an excuse to live here for free while you date other guys? Oh, please, don't act like you're some kind of saint. You offered to let me move in. I didn't force you. Because I thought you needed help. Because I cared about you. My voice finally broke, emotions seeping through. Lauren just shrugged, adjusting her purse on her shoulder. Well, now you know, I've been keeping my options open. And honestly, Mark, you're being way too possessive right now. It's not attractive. Possessive? You're living in my apartment, spending my money and apparently cheating on me, but I'm possessive for having a problem with it? Whatever, she said dismissively. I don't need you, Mark. I have plenty of options. The words hung in the air between us, honest in their cruelty. I stared at her, this woman I thought I knew, this woman I'd supported and cared for, and realized I'd been nothing but a convenience to her. A free place to stay, a wallet to use, a sucker. Then I suggest you exercise one of those options, I said finally, because you can't stay here anymore. Lauren's expression faltered slightly, as if she hadn't expected me to actually kick her out, but she recovered quickly. Fine, I'll grab some things and stay at a friend's tonight. We can talk when you've calmed down and aren't being so dramatic. No, I said firmly. This isn't a timeout. This is over. You need to move out, all the way out. She laughed, though it sounded forced. You can't just throw me out. I live here now. I have rights. Actually, I can. Your name isn't on the lease. You don't pay rent. Legally, you're just a guest. And I'm rescinding my invitation. Lauren's face hardened. You wouldn't dare. Try me, I said, surprising myself with how calm I felt. The initial shock and hurt were still there, but beneath them was a growing sense of clarity. I want you gone by the end of the week. This is bullshit, she exploded. Where am I supposed to go? Like you said, you have plenty of options. I'm sure Ryan or Travis or Jay would be happy to take you in. I walked to the door and opened it. Now, weren't you on your way out? Don't let me keep you from your networking event. For a moment, I thought she might argue further, but instead she stormed past me, pausing only to hiss, You'll regret this. No one breaks up with me. The door slammed behind her, leaving me alone in the suddenly quiet apartment. I sank onto the couch, my legs no longer able to support me. The reality of what had just happened washed over me in waves. My girlfriend had been cheating on me, probably with multiple guys. Our entire relationship might have been a lie, and now I had to figure out how to extricate her from my life completely. I didn't sleep at all that night. Lauren didn't come back, which was probably for the best. I spent the hours researching tenant rights in Illinois, even though I was pretty confident of my position. Since Lauren had never signed a lease or paid rent, she was legally considered a licensee rather than a tenant. I could revoke permission for her to stay with reasonable notice. To be safe, I decided to give her 5 days, more than generous under the circumstances. I drafted a formal notice of eviction, stating she needed to remove all her belongings by Sunday at 5 p.m. I printed 2 copies, signing and dating both. The next morning, I called in sick to work for the first time in years. I needed time to think, to plan, to start reclaiming my space in my life. Lauren still hadn't returned, but I knew she would eventually, at least to get more clothes, if nothing else. Around noon, my phone buzzed with a text from her. "We need to talk. I'm coming by after work." I didn't respond. There was nothing left to say. I spent the day taking inventory of everything Lauren had brought into the apartment. It was more than I'd realized: clothes, shoes, makeup, books, electronics, decorative items that had gradually transformed my space. I found empty shopping bags stuffed in the back of the closet, tags removed but still in the bags, evidence of purchases she'd hidden from me. As I was sorting through her things, I discovered something that made my blood run cold. A small notebook tucked inside a shoebox at the back of the closet. Inside were detailed notes about me, my bank account numbers, credit card information, passwords she'd apparently observed me entering. There were even notes about my family, my parents' names and addresses, my sister's job and boyfriend's name. It was methodical, calculated, as if she'd been collecting information on me from the beginning. Even more disturbing were the lists. One page was headed "Mark's Assets," with estimates of my salary, savings, and property values. Another was titled "Potential Sponsors," with a list of men's names, Ryan, Travis, and Jay among them, along with notes about their financial situations. My name was at the top, with the note, "Current, reliable but limited upside. Too controlling." I felt physically sick as I flipped through the pages. This wasn't just opportunism or casual cheating. This was systematic exploitation. Lauren had targeted me, moved in with me, and was apparently evaluating other men as potential replacements, all while living off my income. The job search had almost certainly been a fiction from the start. With shaking hands, I took photos of every page in the notebook, then returned it exactly where I'd found it. I didn't want her to know I'd discovered it yet. The evidence might be useful if things escalated. By the time evening rolled around, I had packed most of her clothes and personal items into boxes and suitcases. I was meticulous, careful not to damage anything, making sure everything that belonged to her was accounted for. This wasn't about being vindictive. I just wanted a clean break. At 6:30 p.m., I heard a key in the lock. Lauren walked in, dressed in the same outfit from the night before, though considerably less put together. Her makeup was smudged, hair disheveled. She stopped short when she saw the boxes stacked in the living room. "What the hell is this?" she demanded. I handed her one of the eviction notices. "You need to be out by Sunday. I've packed most of your things to make it easier." She stared at the paper, then crumpled it in her fist. "You can't be serious. This is my home too." "No, it's not. It's my home that I allowed you to stay in temporarily. That arrangement is now over. Because of a few text messages, you're throwing away our entire relationship over nothing." I almost laughed at the absurdity. "Nothing? You admitted you've been cheating on me with multiple guys while living in my house, using my money." "I never actually said I was cheating," she protested. "You jumped to conclusions and now you're overreacting." "Am I? Let's call Ryan and ask him what happened last night that was so unforgettable. Or maybe we should ask Jay why he misses you so much." Lauren's strategy shifted instantly. Her face crumpled, tears forming in her eyes. "Kay, I made a mistake. I've been so lost lately, so unsure of myself without a job. I got attention from these guys and it made me feel wanted again. But it didn't mean anything. You're the one I love, Mark." The ease with which she transitioned from denial to tearful confession told me everything I needed to know about the sincerity of her words. I thought about the notebook hidden in the shoebox, the calculated way she'd been using me, and steeled myself against her manipulation. If you loved me, you wouldn't have cheated. You wouldn't have an advantage of me. I kept my voice steady. "I need you to take your things and leave." "Where am I supposed to go?" she cried, tears now streaming freely. "I can't afford a place without a job. That's not my problem anymore. Maybe one of your options can help you out." Lauren's demeanor changed yet again, tears vanishing as quickly as they had appeared. "You heartless bastard. After everything we've been through, you're just throwing me out on the street?" "We've been through me supporting you completely for 4 months while you apparently dated other men. And I'm not throwing you on the street. I'm giving you 5 days to find another place to stay. That's more than fair." I'm not leaving, she said, folding her arms across her chest. You'll have to physically remove me, and I don't think you want that kind of trouble. Actually, I've already spoken to the building management and explained the situation. They're fully supportive of my position. If you're not out by Sunday, they'll change the locks and have security escort you out if you try to return. This was a bluff. I hadn't actually talked to management yet, but it sounded convincing. Lauren's face paled slightly. You wouldn't. I already have. Now you can either take this time to find a new place to live, or you can make this difficult and end up with nowhere to go and no belongings. Your choice. For a moment, I saw fear flash across her face. Then anger replaced it. Fine. I'll be back for my things tomorrow, with friends. I don't want to be alone with you. That's probably wise, I agreed. I'll be at work from 9 to 5. You can come then. Just leave your key when you're done. She stormed toward the bedroom, presumably to grab whatever she needed for the night. The bathroom stuff you need is already packed in that small box, I called after her. I labeled everything clearly. Lauren emerged a few minutes later with a small overnight bag. She grabbed the box I'd indicated and headed for the door. Before leaving, she turned back to me, her expression a mix of anger and something else. Perhaps regret, though I doubted she was capable of it. You're making a huge mistake, Mark. No one else will put up with your boring, controlling personality like I have. I just nodded. Goodbye, Lauren. After she left, I changed the passwords on all my accounts. Email, social media, Netflix, everything. I called my credit card company and reported my card as compromised, requesting a new one with a different number. I contacted my bank and made sure Lauren had no access to any of my financial information. Then I called the building management to warn them about the situation and request a lock change after Sunday. The property manager, a middle-aged woman named Susan, listened sympathetically. We've seen this before, unfortunately. Since she's not on the lease, you're within your rights to ask her to leave. We can have the locks changed on Monday morning. Thank you, I said, relieved to have confirmation of my position. I appreciate your understanding. Just be careful, Mr. Anderson, she warned. Sometimes these situations can get complicated. If you feel unsafe at any point, don't hesitate to call security or the police. Her concern made me uneasy. Was I underestimating how Lauren might react? I decided to take additional precautions. The next day at work, I pulled my manager aside and briefly explained that I was going through a difficult breakup and might need to take a personal day or two in the coming week. He was surprisingly understanding, even offering to let me work remotely if needed. Take care of yourself, Mark, he said. The code will still be here when you get back. Throughout the day, Lauren sent a barrage of texts ranging from pleading to threatening. Please, can we just talk about this? I made a mistake, but I love you. You're being so cruel. This isn't the Mark I know. I've talked to a lawyer. You can't just throw me out. I'll sue you. My friends think you're being emotionally abusive. Is that really who you want to be? I didn't respond to any of them. There was no point in engaging. Each message only reinforced that I was making the right decision. But one message, sent around 3 p.m., caught my attention. I know things about you, Mark. Things you wouldn't want others to know. Think carefully about how you proceed. A chill ran down my spine. Was she referring to the notebook? Or was this just another manipulation tactic? Either way, it felt like a threat. When I got home that evening, I found that Lauren had indeed come by with friends. They'd taken most of her boxes but had left a considerable mess behind. Drawers left open, clothes strewn about, a few items broken accidentally. It was petty and childish, but also exactly what I'd expected. What I hadn't expected was to find several of my own possessions missing. My expensive noise-canceling headphones, a watch my father had given me for graduation, and most concerning, my external hard drive that contained backups of important documents and personal photos. I immediately texted Lauren. Turn my watch, headphones, and hard drive immediately. Those weren't part of the deal. Her response came quickly. I don't know what you're talking about. Maybe you misplaced them. Memory problems, Mark. This was gaslighting, plain and simple. I knew exactly where those items had been, and they were gone now. This wasn't about the monetary value, though the headphones alone had cost over $300. But the principle, she was retaliating by taking things that mattered to me. I debated calling the police to report the theft, but hesitated. Did I really want to escalate this to that level? What if she denied taking anything? It would be her word against mine, and involving the authorities might provoke her into more extreme actions. I decided to try one more diplomatic approach. Lauren, I have security cameras in the apartment. This was a lie. I didn't have cameras, but she didn't know that. Return my belongings by tomorrow, or I'll take the footage to the police. 20 minutes later, my doorbell rang. When I opened it, there was no one there. Just a small bag containing my watch and headphones. The hard drive was still missing. I texted again. Where's the hard drive? Insurance, came her reply, in case you try anything stupid. Now I was genuinely concerned. That hard drive contained personal information, financial documents, tax returns, photos. In the wrong hands, it could be used for identity theft or worse. Lauren had just escalated from petty revenge to potential criminal activity. I spent the next hour calling my bank, credit bureaus, and identity theft protection services, placing fraud alerts on all my accounts and explaining the situation. It was exhausting and anxiety-inducing, but necessary. I couldn't risk Lauren using my personal information against me. The next 2 days passed in an uneasy quiet. Lauren didn't contact me again, but I felt on edge, waiting for the other shoe to drop. I went to work, came home, and continued the process of reclaiming my space. I threw out the scented candles that now reminded me of Lauren's deception. I rearranged the furniture to create a new layout, one that wasn't associated with Ma. On Friday evening, my doorbell rang. I checked the peephole to see a man I didn't recognize, tall, muscular, with a buzz cut and an aggressive stance. I kept the chain on and opened the door a crack. Can I help you? You, Mark Anderson? His tone was confrontational. Who's asking? A friend of Lauren's. She says you have been threatening her. My heart rate spiked, but I kept my voice steady. I haven't threatened anyone. Lauren moved out of my apartment after I discovered she was cheating. That's all. She says you're keeping her stuff, says you're harassing her. She came and got her things 2 days ago, with friends. If anything's missing, it's because they didn't take it. The man leaned closer to the door. Listen carefully, buddy. Lauren's upset. When Lauren's upset, I'm upset. You don't want me upset, so whatever issues you two have, fix them. Or I'll fix them for you, understand? Before I could respond, he turned and walked away. I closed the door, hands shaking. This was intimidation, pure and simple. Lauren had sent someone to threaten me in my own home. I immediately called the police to report the incident. The officer who took my statement was sympathetic, but not particularly helpful. Unless he explicitly threatened violence, there's not much we can do, she explained. But we'll make a note of it. If he returns, or if there are any further incidents, call us immediately. I spent the night on edge, jumping at every sound, checking and rechecking that the door was locked. In the morning, I made an emergency appointment with a locksmith to change the locks immediately, not waiting for the building management's scheduled change on Monday. It cost extra for the weekend service, but my peace of mind was worth it. I also went to a hardware store and purchased a doorbell camera and 2 interior security cameras. Lauren might have been bluffing about having talked to a lawyer, but the intimidation attempt was very real. I needed to protect myself. Saturday afternoon, my phone rang with an unfamiliar number. Against my better judgment, I answered. Mark Anderson? A professional-sounding female voice. Yes, who's this? This is Stephanie Reynolds with Reynolds Legal Services. I'm calling regarding your illegal eviction of Lauren Williams from your shared residence. My stomach dropped. Had Lauren actually gotten a lawyer involved? Ms. Reynolds, Lauren Williams was never a tenant in my apartment. She was a guest, and I gave her 5 days' notice to leave, which is more than legally required. Mr. Anderson, my client has evidence of established residency. She received mail at your address, has witnesses who will testify she lived there for months, and has photographic evidence of her belongings in the residence. Under Illinois law, that establishes tenancy, regardless of whether she signed a lease or paid rent. I took a deep breath. I have evidence that Ms. Williams admitted to using me for free housing while dating other men. I have evidence that she took my personal property when she moved out. and I have a police report about the man she sent to intimidate me yesterday. If you want to take this to court, we can, but I suggest you get the full story from your client first." There was a pause on the other end of the line. "I'll discuss this further with Miss Williams and get back to you." I never heard from Stephanie Reynolds again. Either she wasn't a real lawyer, or after speaking with Lauren further, she decided it wasn't a case worth pursuing. Sunday arrived. The new locks were installed, the security cameras were up and running, and I'd spent the weekend deep cleaning the apartment, reclaiming my space both physically and psychologically. At 4:30 p.m., half an hour before my stated deadline, my doorbell camera alerted me to movement. On the screen, I saw Lauren standing there with the same muscular man who had threatened me, plus another woman I didn't recognize. I spoke through the doorbell intercom. "Lauren, I've changed the locks for my own safety after your friend here threatened me. If you have any remaining belongings, please list them and I'll bring them down." Lauren's face contorted with anger. "You changed the locks? That's illegal. I'm calling the police." "Go ahead. I have video of your friend threatening me on Friday. I filed a police report, and I have evidence of you admitting to using me for free housing while dating other men. I'm sure the officers will be very interested in that conversation." The man with Lauren took a step forward, glaring into the camera. "Listen, you little—" "Every word and action is being recorded," I interrupted calmly, "and being uploaded to cloud storage in real time. So think carefully about what you say and do next." The trio conferred in whispers for a moment, and then Lauren stepped forward again. "I left some jewelry in at the bathroom cabinet. Expensive pieces. I want them back." I knew this was a lie. I'd thoroughly checked every cabinet and drawer while cleaning, but I decided to play along. "I'll check and bring down anything I find. Wait there." I waited 5 minutes, then returned to the intercom. "There's no jewelry in the bathroom cabinet, Lauren. Is there anything else you need?" "My grandmother's ring. It was in a small blue box in the top drawer. It's a family heirloom." Another fabrication. "No ring, no blue box. If you'd like to provide a complete list of items you believe are still in the apartment, I'll check for them. Otherwise, we're done here." Lauren's face was a mask of fury. "You're stealing my things. I'm going to make you regret this, Mark. You have no idea what I'm capable of." "Actually, I think I do. Goodbye, Lauren." I turned off the intercom, though I continued to monitor the camera feed. The three of them stood outside for several more minutes, arguing among themselves. Finally, they left, Lauren looking back to glare at the camera one last time before getting into a car I didn't recognize. That night, I slept better than I had in weeks. The apartment was quieter, emptier, but also somehow fuller of possibility. I'd lost someone I thought I loved, but I'd found a strength in myself I hadn't known existed. The next morning, I woke to dozens of notifications on my phone. Overnight, Lauren had launched a social media campaign against me, posting tearful videos claiming I had abused her, thrown her out without warning, and stolen her belongings. She'd tagged mutual friends, my workplace, even my family members. My first instinct was panic. Would people believe her? Would this affect my relationships? But as I scrolled through the comments, I saw something unexpected. Many people were questioning her story. Friends who had seen how I treated Lauren, who knew my character, were openly skeptical. And Lauren's own inconsistencies, claiming I'd given her no warning in one post, then admitting to a few days' notice in another, were raising red flags. I resisted the urge to respond publicly. Instead, I documented everything, taking screenshots of her posts and the contradictions in her claims. I contacted a lawyer of my own, sending him all the evidence I had collected, including the photos of her notebook, the text messages, and the security footage. He assured me that I had acted within my rights and that if Lauren persisted in defaming me, we could take legal action. I also reached out privately to close friends and family members who had been tagged in Lauren's posts, briefly explaining the situation and thanking them for their support. Most responded with sympathy and understanding. A few admitted they'd always had reservations about Lauren, but hadn't wanted to interfere. "She seemed to change you," my sister told me over the phone. "And not in a good way. You were always walking on eggshells around her. I'm sorry you're going through this, but honestly, Mark, I think you're better off." Her words hit home. Had I been so blinded by Lauren's beauty and charisma that I hadn't noticed how she was changing me? How much of myself had I compromised to keep her happy? The social media storm continued for a few days, then gradually died down as people lost interest and Lauren's inconsistencies became more apparent. She made a few more attempts to contact me, once through a mutual friend begging me to just talk, and once by showing up at my workplace, though security refused to let her in after I'd warned them about the situation. About 2 weeks after the breakup, I received an unexpected text from a number I didn't recognize. "Mark, this is Ryan Williams. Can we meet? There's something you should know about Lauren." My first instinct was to ignore it. This could be another of Lauren's manipulation tactics, but curiosity got the better of me. I suggested meeting at a public coffee shop near my office, where there would be witnesses and security cameras. Ryan turned out to be a well-dressed man in his mid-30s with an expensive watch and a nervous demeanor. He fidgeted with his coffee cup as he spoke. "I should start by saying I had no idea Lauren was living with you or in a serious relationship. She told me she was staying with a friend temporarily after a bad breakup." He looked genuinely distressed. "I only found out the truth when I saw her social media posts about you." "Why are you telling me this?" I asked, still suspicious of his motives. "Because you're not the first." Ryan pulled out his phone and showed me a series of screenshots, conversations between him and Lauren, dating back 6 months, well before her supposed job loss. "She was planning to move in with you from the beginning. She told me all about it, how she was going to fake losing her job, how you'd offer to let her stay with you, how she could live rent-free while keeping her options open." My blood ran cold as I scrolled through the messages. There it was in black and white. Lauren bragging about how easy I was to manipulate, how she could get me to pay for everything while she enjoyed life. She'd even shared details about expensive purchases she'd made on my credit card, laughing about how I'd barely questioned it. "Why would she tell you all this?" I asked, handing back the phone. Ryan looked ashamed. "Because I was doing something similar with my ex. Lauren and I met in a bar, got talking, and realized we had the same approach to relationships. We compared notes, gave each other advice." He shook his head. "It sounds terrible saying it out loud. But Lauren took it to another level. She was almost professional about it. Why come to me now? Because after seeing those posts, I looked into you. You seem like a decent guy who got caught in her web, just like I got caught in my ex's." And he hesitated. "I'm worried about what Lauren might do next. She doesn't handle rejection well." I thanked Ryan for the information, though I felt no warmth toward him. He'd knowingly participated in Lauren's deception, even if he claimed to regret it now. But the screenshots he shared provided yet more evidence of Lauren's calculated manipulation, which I promptly forwarded to my lawyer. As the weeks passed, life gradually returned to normal. I focused on work, reconnected with friends I'd neglected during my relationship with Lauren, and slowly rebuilt my savings. The hard drive never reappeared, but I'd taken steps to protect myself from identity theft, and no suspicious activity appeared on my accounts. Lauren's social media campaign eventually backfired when several other men came forward with similar stories about her. She deleted her accounts and, according to mutual acquaintances, moved to another city to start fresh. I wished her victims well, but felt no desire to maintain any connection to that part of my life. Then, exactly 1 month after Lauren moved out, my doorbell camera activated at 2 a.m. I checked the feed to see Lauren standing in the hallway, swaying slightly, clearly intoxicated. She looked nothing like the polished, confident woman I'd known. Her hair was disheveled, makeup smeared, wearing what appeared to be pajama pants and a wrinkled t-shirt. "Mark?" Her voice crackled through the speaker. "Are you there? Please. I just need to talk to you." I hesitated before pressing the intercom button. "It's 2 a.m, Lauren. Whatever you need to say can wait until a reasonable hour." "Please," she begged, her voice breaking. "I have nowhere else to go. All my friends have abandoned me. My new roommate kicked me out. I've been sleeping in my car." She began to cry. "I made a huge mistake. I see that now." Of course she did. Now that her support system had collapsed, she was back at my door, expecting me to rescue her again. Classic Lauren, only sorry when there were consequences. "I'm not letting you in," I said firmly. "Not tonight, not ever. Mark, please, I still love you. I'll get a real one this time. I'll pay rent. I'll go to therapy. Whatever you want. Just don't leave me out here alone. For a brief moment, I felt a twinge of pity. The woman on the camera looked genuinely distressed. But then I remembered the cold look in her eyes when she'd said, I don't need you. I have plenty of options. I remembered the calculated way she'd used me, the notebook with its methodical inventory of my assets, the missing hard drive, the social media smear campaign, the intimidation attempts. You made your choice, Lauren, I said, my voice steady. I've made mine. Don't come back here again. I turned off the intercom, ignoring her continued pleas. They grew more desperate, then angry, then threatening, before finally fading away. I checked the camera one last time to see her walking away, shoulders slumped, disappearing into the darkness of the Chicago night.